All right, let us welcome in Eric Nicksick. He had a very busy night in Houston, Texas this past Saturday, including being in the corner for Sean Strickland's big win over Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in the main event. And quite frankly, making me look like an absolute moron in the process. Eric, how are you, sir?
What up, Mike? Good to talk to you, brother.
Good to talk to you. It's great to have you here. And yes, I picked against Sean. I thought Fluffy would just kind of middleweight marob him. And that just didn't happen at all in there. And I'm sure you saw a lot of people picking against your guy, but Sean delivered. It's nice being able to watch your guy make people look a little bit foolish, isn't it?
Yeah, man, I'm proud of him. He put in the work. He busted his ass all camp. It was such a team win, man. Like the whole entire gym was all behind the scenes doing stuff. Like every practice, all the training partners, just everybody was rallying around him to get him this victory. And man, I couldn't be more proud of Sean and the entire gym as a whole.
You were the obviously the first person I was thinking of watching this performance because so many times you've come on here to chat, whether it's after a win or a loss for Sean, and so many times you said, "Man, this guy is capable of X, Y, and Z." And this fighter, this former champion, came into the gym and watched Sean train and told me, "Holy crap, I didn't know Sean was this good." And you said, and I quote, "This is why I bang my head against the wall every day." And on Saturday, when you're watching Sean go out there and perform the way he performed, fair to say your cranium was as clean and unmarked as it possibly could be.
Yeah, man. I think that's the Sean that we all know, and that's the Sean that we see when he's performing at his best and when he's healthy and when he's dialed in, and that's what we saw on Saturday night, man. So credit goes to Sean. He did the work, and that's what we expect from him. And I know sometimes in the past I was critical of him, and I think that criticism is my way of trying to motivate him, just because we absolutely all know what Sean can do when he's dialed in and he's ready to go.
Because I mean, man, you've been waiting for that for so long, and I know a lot of people are like, "This is the best performance of his career," and he went out there and like kind of beat the bag out of Abu Magomedov, which set him up for the title fight. Had obviously the title win against Israel Adesanya, where he just dominated that fight, and then this one, he's had other wins obviously in between, some big finishes. The Brandon Allen fight was really impressive. Where does this one rank for you? Is this the best performance of his career? Is this two, three? Where do you rank it?
It's up there pretty high. I mean, obviously beating Izzy to me is still number one, but I think just with the overall complexion of the entirety of the camp, having a year off, being able to kind of heal up those injuries, and the ups and downs, and then the self that there was never really any self doubt, but I think where the doubt comes in is recency bias. Sean's last performance wasn't his best, and then a guy like Fluffy who's been on a tear. In my opinion, that's why you saw the odds the way that they were, and that was really the last message that myself and Danny and the rest of the team was giving Sean was, hey, let's go remind these motherfuckers what you're capable of, and that's what he went out and did.
Some bulletin board material, little extra
100%.
chip on his shoulder. Did he take that too? Did he take that to heart?
Who knows? Who knows?
I was gonna say.
Who knows, bro? No, who knows? Nah, I mean, I think that's a lot of the reasons why Sean has me. It's not a lot of times X's and O's, but it's moreover just that motivation that he might need in certain moments. And um, that was my feeling from it. It was like, hey, this is our time to go remind them. Like we've been at this a long time, me and you and Danny and the team, and let's go get this guy and let's go show these guys what you're capable of.
Obviously, he took a year off. You mentioned the injuries, also the suspension for punching Luis Hernandez after a fight, but that's neither here nor there. But like,
Well,
how banged up was he? Like, how injured was he, just from your perspective? Like, how bad was he hurting?
I mean, pretty bad, and I think that's where the whole thing with me and him and the communication thing came into play, was because he didn't really lead on about how injured he actually was. I mean, I knew that his shoulder wasn't good. I knew a little bit about the staff, but I didn't know to the extent. And I think that's where a lot of ways, I think from Sean's perspective, he probably didn't want to tell me too much because he didn't want me to talk him out of pulling out of the fight. But again, like, I just know he wasn't 100%. I just, and it's not to take anything away from Dricus and his performance. And I think that's where we should leave it. It's just, he wasn't 100%. And, we see Sean when he's healthy and what he's capable of doing when he's all healed up.
As I said, the accountability hand's still up in the air. I thought Fluffy was going to come out with a much different game plan, because I was like, there's no way he's just going to stand there and get in a kickboxing match with Sean Strickland. He's just going to like get shot out of a cannon, push him up against the fence, and just wear him down. And he's going to do this immediately within seconds of this fight starting. That's how this is going to look. And he just couldn't get there because Sean just immediately started battering him with that jab. And when Fluffy felt like he had things figured out, he'd get jabbed and then he'd get punched in the face with the right hand that would get him in trouble. And what was tough for me to watch, like, as I'm blogging the fight, is like, I'm getting Yancy Medeiros vibes here. Like, he's smiling and laughing. He's like, oh, good punch, Sean. And he's high-fiving him. And I was like, what is happening here? And then Sean just kind of like took over and ended up getting the finish. So as you're watching this all unfold, were you surprised at all by anything Fluffy did, or in some people's eyes didn't do here? Or is just one of those things where, yeah, man, Sean was so on that nobody was beating him on Saturday?
I think a little bit of both. If you break down Fluffy, I think he definitely relies on his cardio and moreover his durability. Round one versus Roman was a very kind of back and forth round. But when you look at the complexity of the fight, when you have a 5-round fight, that serves Fluffy very well when you can make a guy tired, when you can tax the guy, right? And then you can start making a guy doubt his confidence. And Sean said it after the fight. He's like, there was times where I wanted to kind of uncork and go ham and go berserker, but then I was like, hold on, this guy's super tough, and I don't want to, tire myself out. And that was also something we got from Edmund. When Edmund fought him, Edmund was like, oh, I dropped him with a jab and I kind of went in for the kill, or I went a little too crazy when I needed to bide my time. So being able to anecdotally take all that evidence that we've had with Roman and Edmund and the rest of the guys that have been in there, Michelle Pajeda, Michelle hurt Fluffy with the body shot. And that was something that we wanted to dial in, especially in the Roman fight, was to attack Fluffy to his body. We kept saying flatten the tires, right? Like, get him tired to his body and get him tired to his legs. So credit to Sean. He found an opening for that knee and was able, that was kind of the beginning of the end for him.
I wanted to ask you about the conversation you had with Sean before the third round, because like I said, I was doing our live blog for the fight. So I'm trying to like pay attention and just, oh, round two's over. This is how I scored it. And then by the time I finished that, it's like, oh, the third round is starting. But I know you were saying something to him about him maybe changing something up, or you were expecting Fluffy to change something up. And selfishly, I didn't get to hear the whole thing. And then a couple of minutes later, the fight was over. So what were you seeing prior to that third round? And what did you say to Sean in that moment?
Being in these 5-round fights, for me, round 3 is that swing round. So, I mean, it's like you might lose the first 2, but if you do, you definitely need to win round 3. And I felt Sean was ahead on the scorecards, obviously, and the momentum was on Sean's side. So if I was in their shoes or Fluffy's shoes, if I was cornering against us in that moment, I thought that they were going to have to try to switch some things up game plan wise, or come out a little bit more erratic, or go for the kill, or do something to get momentum shifting on their side. So, and it's very difficult to do that, like you said, especially when the jab is firing and it's snapping your head back and you can't get inside with the distance. So that I was just kind of that warning, like, hey, I feel like they're going to have to change some things up. So stay on your P's and Q's and just expect something maybe different out of them.
It was nice having those conversations between rounds compared to a year prior, right? Things are a little bit different, right? Now it just you seem so much more like calm, and you're like, yeah, man, this is exactly what I expected to happen here.
Yeah, man. He really did a great job. He's, and again, like, that's just time served. Like, we spent a lot of time together now, and he knows what to expect from me. I know what to expect from him and Coach Danny and Jason and all the rest of the guys in the corner. And it was executed flawlessly. And all credit to Sean, and he did a great job in that fight.
obviously he made a lot of waves during the week, and I'm not really going to ask you about that because the win was so good, and then the post fight interview was great because
Hmm.
he was still being Sean, but he
Hmm.
spent that entire post fight interview putting over Fluffy as a tough dude, as a much better boxer than people gave him credit for, as a husband, as a dad. Like pretty much the entire interview was like, yeah, man, Fluffy's the man. He's a tough MFer. And I think people really appreciated that. Even those who feel like Sean is a habitual line crosser at media day and at press
Sure.
conferences. And, people have been asking me since Saturday, like, why can't we see this all the time from him instead of the other stuff? But Sean is who he is. He's gotten himself over to a place where there is no gray area with him. You love him, you hate him, but you'll react to him either way. And in the pro wrestling world, like getting a reaction is everything, whether they love you or hate you. You see that side of Sean all the time, right? Like yeah, you get a little bit of tough love, but if somebody in the gym does something great, Sean's probably the first one to go over there and put them over, right?
I mean, that's 90% of the Sean Strickland that we see is that aftermath and that conversation that he had on the mic and talking about Fluffy. That is the Sean that we all see in the gym. It really is, man. Like he's a caring dude. He's a great dude. Even today after practice, he had this really like nice touching speech talking about the gym and the team and how he's nowhere without everybody in this room and that victory goes to the team and then furthermore he talked about Dan Ige and he's just like, hey, we're all on this high and we got this victory, but don't forget, like, there's a guy that didn't come home with the win in Dan, and let's make sure we rally around Dan. Like, just that's Sean, man. Like, he really cares. He really gives a shit. And sometimes we see what we see on the mic, but you know, that's the Sean Strickland that we all see in the gym.
It's a weird time in the sport and in the UFC, right? And on Friday, Nassourdine Imavov is sitting at home as the clear-cut, no doubt number one contender for Khamzat Chimaev. We're just waiting for an announcement to happen. And then
Mhm.
24 hours later, the sentiment now seems to be, well, that's not happening. They're going to go with Sean Strickland because it's such a big fight. Do you feel like no matter how this shakes out with Khamzat going up or staying, that Sean is next? If Khamzat stays at 185, or if that Imavov might be waiting a little while longer, and if Khamzat goes up, it's just going to be Sean versus Imavov, right? Like, is that how you're feeling right now?
I would say so, and I think it's obviously up to the promotion, but we did our job the way that we were supposed to, and we got style points by getting the finish and beating a guy like Fluffy, who's on a tear, right? I think that's kind of like, oh well, Sean did his job, but he also finished a guy that hasn't been finished in the last, I mean, I don't know how long, 8 fights, right? Like since so. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. But again, that's going to be up to the promotion and what they decide on.
You and I have talked about this potential fight for like 3 years now, and how Sean could be like a really tough matchup for Khamzat if he can survive that early storm and then do what Sean does down the stretch. And we've seen guys go through that first 5 or so minutes, come to the other side with momentum. Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns, DDP didn't because he just got, he was on his back for 25 minutes. And, Khamzat had a different sort of mentality heading that fight. Let's just win and be less reckless in there and try to go 25 minutes. So I'm curious, after watching Khamzat fight DDP and the way Sean just fought on Saturday, does the way you view a fight between Sean and Khamzat, has that changed at all?
Yeah, I think Hamzat's gotten better over the past few years himself as well, and I think he's addressing those let's say cardio issues or his pit stops and his energy management. So we're gonna have a work cut out for us, man, and that's the best part about this game is trying to put together a game plan that can go beat the arguably one of the best fighters on the planet right now in Khamzat Chimaev, and coming up with a game plan to nullify some of his best assets. So that's the chess game.
Have you coached against Khamzat yet?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is a new type of challenge for you then if the UFC goes in this direction.
Absolutely, man. I love those types of challenges.
I know from past conversations because I mean, you see it all the time. Fighters go on Twitter and they go in interviews and like, oh, I whooped his ass in the gym and I whooped his ass in the gym. And what happens on the mats stays on the mats. But look, man, both guys said that they have straight up demoralized the other in the gym. So if we are to believe both of these individuals, then it's a pretty even playing field, right? Which after a round, it's a 10-point must system in the life and in the mats and in the cage. Someone has to get it. So if someone won a 10-9 after all of these sessions, very close, 10-9s happen all the time, Eric, you know this. It could be a razor close round. Who has the 10? Who has the 9 between Sean and Khamzat?
Couldn't tell you.
Have you seen them train and spar together though?
I haven't really seen the sparring. I've seen more of the grappling side of things because I'll run that Monday practice. I saw bits and pieces of the sparring, but I don't take anything away from any of that, A side or B side, you know. In my opinion, when Khamzat was there, he was a guest and he was there to help and make the team better. And it was our job to make him better while he was there. And I just don't take anything into the training. I just don't, you know. I mean, what happens in the training room should stay in the training room. That's my thoughts. If those guys want to talk about it, that's up to them. I saw certain things that transpired that I feel like have not been mentioned.
Oh,
but
not on you to say.
Yeah, it's just not on me to say, man. I don't know. I think we kind of live under that code of what happens in the room stays in the room. I think now with this day and age, everybody's got a camera and social media and a tripod in the gym and this and that, and it's, to me, it's just I'm just old school, and something that Randy never wanted, and I kind of live by that code.
I know you're not on the business end of things, but I'm sure I mean, to the best of your ability when you're dealing with Sean, that you have some kind of a sense, I guess, because Sean has become a bit more business minded these days. He's not just the dude that's like, yeah, man, I'm going to fight every Saturday and fight 8 times in a year. He's a little more strategic about when and who he fights. If the UFC somehow goes with merit in a lot of people's eyes, and they go with the original plan, Khamzat versus Nassourdine, and then Sean is the odd man out, do you think he'd fight again, or is he just waiting until it's a title fight to compete again, if you had to take a guess?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it would just depend on who it is and what it looks like. To be honest, like with Izzy being booked with Pyfer, that's pretty close, I think, with timeline stuff goes. But in the reality, I just feel like in my heart, I feel like it's going to be Sean and Khamzat. That's the way I feel. If Khamzat moves up, then it's Sean and Imavov. So I feel like either way, like you said earlier in the segment, I feel like it's going to be Sean regardless.
I talked to Imavov yesterday. He does not like your guy at all. I've never seen him so upset. But boy, he is not like Sean.
He probably doesn't like Chris Curtis more than he doesn't like Sean.
I mean, he was like, yeah, I fought Chris and it was a masterclass until the fight ended. But boy, yeah, he hates Sean.
Yeah, at one point, Chris was talking so much shit to Imavov. And then, like, in the Sean and Imavov fight, that Imavov was paying more attention to Chris. And then I had to remind Chris that he's got Cyril Gane in his corner. And I'm like, dude, we're completely outgunned here. So just slow this shit down, bro.
That's incredible.
I'm looking for a tire iron or a
Where's Francis?
Or something.
Can we get Francis over
exactly.
here?
Yeah, where's Francis at? Holy shit.
You had a bunch of fighters on that card, obviously. Puna Soriano just making us wonder where he'd be if he was a welterweight his entire pro career. Another good win for him. Ramiz Brahimaj was on a great run, and he just goes there and wins, man. Like, what has that been like to watch? Like, you knew he had it in him, and it just took a weight class shift for everybody to really see the complete game he's bringing.
Man, like, I just got goosebumps. Just, I'm so proud of him. I really am, man. Like, I wish everyone was able to see the work that he puts in and day out. Just a true professional, and not only a true professional, but a guy who's constantly trying to evolve his style. And I think we saw that on Saturday night versus a guy who I have all the love and respect for in Ramiz and his team. And, he's been on a tear himself, and it was a super back and forth fight, a gritty performance by both gentlemen. And I think just understanding Puna's growth and his maturation throughout and understanding his skill set and what he's capable of. And some of the new tools that he's really been working on, man. Like we got to see it on Saturday night with, throwing the same side head kick and doing stuff that we haven't really seen from him in previous fights. In the 4-fight winning streak that he's had, every time out he's shown something new and different. And now obviously the Euroshmedic win looks even better on paper. So couldn't be more proud of him and his growth and Coach Nate and Maki and all the guys that have been helping him as well behind the scenes. They deserve a lot of that credit. So yeah, I mean, he's found his groove at welterweight, and I'm looking forward to see what's in store for him next.
I feel like when Puna broke in, he was so skilled and talented. He was so athletic. You could see it. He was just nuking everybody. Like it was just so impressive, smashing everybody. Yeah. And then, we kind of saw a little bit of limitation in his game, and then it was sort of an up and down run. And I remember when you told me about like Daniel Zellhuber the first time you got to work with him, it's like Daniel Zellhuber is like a Ferrari, and I never drove it before, so I have to like figure it out and like do these little things, and eventually I could figure out how to drive it. Is it kind of similar with Puna, where it's like, yeah, we have all this like incredible ability here, but now we have to like fine tune things? Do you feel like it's sort of like those two are on like similar paths, I guess?
That's a great assessment, Mike. And I think partly Puna spars a certain way, where he's not trying to hurt his training partners in sparring. But what happens is when he goes into the fight, he's trying to knock everybody's block off. And in a lot of ways, I feel like we hadn't prepared or trained like that in the training room, and he's exhausting himself in the fights. So something had to give. So it's like, hey, if you're gonna spar a certain way, we need to fight a certain way, but also know that in your back pocket you have this equalizer, you're gonna act right equalizer in both of your hands, and learning and understanding when to use it and when to apply it. And that was kind of going into round 3 on the stool. I said to him, like, all right, let's open up. Let's start throwing the nukes and making them feel the power. And that's what he saw. He said to me after the fight, he's like, I'm so glad you told me to go have fun, because I knew what that meant. And that meant I got to just go start throwing some bombs. I'm like, yeah, dude, good for you, bro. And I think just making those adjustments. And that was something that actually Sean and Brad Tavares pointed out. It's like, Puna, you spar a certain way, but when you go into a fight, you fight a different way. And there's no gap in between, and we have no real understanding of the preparation. So let's dial it down, and let's be a little bit more strategic when it comes to your sparring as well as your fight.
You mentioned him earlier, but Dan Ige, tough night at the office for him against a really good fighter in Melky Costa, who's just on a tear. And it was the first time we've seen him knocked out. First time we've ever seen him finished, period, in 30 pro fights, which is just wild. I didn't think it was possible, honestly. Like I was like, yeah, Melky might win, but like no way he's finishing Dan Ige, because he's unfinishable. And a lot of people since that fight have been wondering like where he goes from here. But you've been with Dan for so long. You've been there for the ups, the downs, the main events, the Calvin Kattar thing, which is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen, to the Diego Lopez fight on 2 hours notice, to watching him get stopped like this on Saturday. How tough was that to see? Like, I know they're all tough, but with Dan specifically, how rough was that to sort of watch and deal with after being around him for so long?
It was probably one of the hardest things to do in my career, to go leave your guy from medicals, to go back and try to put this mask on and be present for Sean, which I felt I did a pretty good job. Sean actually, gave me some love after. He said, I know how hard that was for you. And it wasn't until, because we stayed off site. Dan's house he had a house like a block and a half away from the hotel. It wasn't until I got to the hotel, and then I walked back to the Airbnb by myself, and I got a little emotional, just because, he is my guy, man. And I'm nowhere in my career without Dan, and we've been together since the regional scene. He believed in me in a time when nobody did, and vice versa. So it felt like, you accomplished the mission, but you lost the soldier, like you lost the guy and he didn't get to come home. So as excited as you were for the rest of the team and the rest of the crew, the moment you got a little bit of excitement, your heart immediately went back to Dan. So it was tough, man. And where is he going to go from here? Dan's going to rise back up and, he's going to go knock a motherfucker out. That's what he does, man. So just got to make sure we're all there for him and rally around him. I know how he feels when the team goes 4-1 and he's the one, so that's the important thing. Is just making sure we're there for him more than anything else.
I mean, more important than any of this, like, how's he doing? Because like he looked rough when it was over. So, and I don't think we've really heard much from him since.
Yeah, he went in today to get the scan on his eye. So I'm just waiting to hear back from the news on it. Yeah, man, it was tough to see. It was tough to see. It's like just something that I've seen him get dropped or sat down, but just never finished. And in a lot of ways, I was hoping that the ref would give him a little time, especially with the clacker. Here in the 10-second clacker, it's like, okay, we can get him on the stool and readdress the situation. So, but that's the fight game. We've been on both sides of that before, and maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. In my heart, I wish we had another opportunity to get him back out there, but you just never know what would happen. If it was going to be downhill from there, if he saved him from something worse later on down the line. I don't know, but all in all, man, like he's Dan Ige. We'll see him rise again, and he'll get back in there soon.
Who else did you have in that card? Pereira, right? Pereira's one of them.
Michelle and Joselyn.
Joselyn Edwards. That was so nasty. I felt super bad for Nora. That fight should have been stopped way sooner.
Yeah, man, she is a freaking dog. I couldn't be happier for her. She's been at the gym for a long time now, and her and Coach Nate Pettit have really hit their stride. And seeing a girl in Joselyn who had absolutely nothing to her name, and is now comfortable and is winning fights in the UFC and is finally kind of hitting her stride. And she's just such a sweet girl until you lock her into a cage. You're like, oh shit, she's mean. So we're very happy for Joselyn. She had a great camp. Taylor and a bunch of the girls that were in there helping her out, they did an amazing job, man. So credit to Joselyn.
She was probably feeling so good about a bonus, and then the main card happened, and I'm like, man, maybe this
damn it, damn it, Sean.
And of course, I'd be remiss if we didn't ask about the guy who calls you up and says, "Hey, Bubba, get ready, buckle up. We got something cooking." Francis Ngannou, what's going on? Has he been training? Is he back in Vegas yet? What can you tell us?
He's not back in Vegas. Your guess is as good as mine. He wrote me a couple days ago, and he was talking about McKenna, my oldest daughter, and just talking about dance and how's everything and how's the fam. So literally no business talk whatsoever with him as far as the fight game goes. But he looks good. He's like 260 right now, so he's in shape. He's doing his work. He's out in Dubai, living life and living the good life, I'm guessing. So I miss him, man. I want to get him back in the room. I wrote him like a week ago. I miss you, bro. Just one of those things. I certainly miss having him around. That as part of the family. So, but no news on the fighting front, unfortunately.
Well, we shall see. The year is young. It's only February, so we still got plenty of time to get some Francis Ngannou there. By the way, is Miesha Tate still training there?
Yeah, Miesha's still there. Miesha was in yesterday. She had her son in there. They were doing some wrestling stuff, so she's doing great.
Yeah, I know she was kind of torn after the last fight. Like, what are we doing? Are we going to do one more? She was kind of just on the fence and trying to figure that part out.
Yeah.
Has she leaned one way or the other in your eyes, or is she just kind of in there having fun and just doing what she's used to doing, I guess?
No, what I see out from her, and I haven't really. I speak to Johnny more about that kind of stuff, but she just looked like she's just being a mom, to be honest with you, man. Like having fun and being a great mom that she is. And she was literally in the gym yesterday with Dax, and they were working on some wrestling and having a good time. So it was nice to see her in the gym, but she hasn't said anything more about the fighting stuff.
Yeah, with the Ronda and Carano fight, I'm like, man, if she can like get out of her UFC contract and like get on that card, like
There we go.
we might get her and Ronda again. Like it
Yeah.
could happen. Like
Yeah.
MVP would be crazy not to try to put that together. What do you make of all these nostalgia fights? Like we're getting Ronda and Gina, now we're getting Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao fighting again, and all sorts of just craziness with the nostalgia fights. Like what? I feel like I'm back in 2007 right now, Eric. What's going on here?
Make your money. Just make your money. If it's a opportunity to make some money for your family, and I'm all for it. We need more promotions. We need more platforms for these athletes to go out and make money for their families. So I'm glad, man. I'm happy for them, and hopefully more and more fighters can jump on those cards and do the same.
Last thing, who do we have on Saturday?
Man, I'll tell you what. Lonnie Kavanaugh was in our workout room in Shanghai, and I was watching this kid hit pads, and I was like, holy shit, this kid is good. I've seen him fight a few times, but it's different in the back. You're watching this kid like pre-work, like pre-going to fight, and this kid was an absolute sniper. Like, I was blown away, bro. And I know he lost. But he was well on his way to victory until he wasn't, So I think he can make this fight a lot closer than what people really, really imagine, So Moreno's Moreno. He's fighting in Mexico City. I know he's had a tough time getting a win in Mexico City. He's the veteran. But don't count Lonnie Kavanaugh out, man. Like, skill for skill, this kid is pretty freaking good.
I have to ask you about one more thing because it was just announced. We just confirmed it the other day. Josh Van fighting Tatsuro Tyra in his first title defense. And it seemed like all signs were pointing towards Manel Kape getting in there and fighting for a belt. They were going back and forth on Twitter. People were into it, and we went a different direction. What was your reaction to that? And is Manel pissed about it? Does he understand? What's happening with that?
We were told that we might have the fight for March. And Manel and I started training for that. So, and I don't know if it was a weight issue or anything like that. But when I finally talked to Manel, I think there were some things behind the scene with Hunter and them talking to Tatsuro prior, and the promises and the this and the that. I really don't know. But I got a call from Manel, and it was like, hey, we're fighting March 7th. Let's get to work. And I'm like, all right. We were in the gym the next day. And then I got a call from him like 3 days later. It's like, it's off. They're going to go a different route on a different date. They don't want to rush, me fighting him at this time. So, but with that being said, we'll be ready because in this game, man, like, guys get hurt, something happens. I told Manel just to keep working and keep staying in shape, because there's nothing bad that can happen by staying in the gym. There's nothing bad, literally. I mean, it's just stay in the room, keep your weight low. You never know. Somebody might pull out. There might be an opportunity for you. And if there is, then we're able to answer that call and be able to be ready for it.
That would be sick. Or you could just go fight Kyoji again, and I would love the hell out of that too.
Right? Yeah, everybody, all the Risen fans would be stoked, right?
Oh my gosh. We get both those flyweight fights on that same Miami card. That'd be sick.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. But Eric, I appreciate the time, my man. Congrats to the squad. I hope Dan's doing okay. And yeah, all the best to you, my man. We'll obviously be talking in the future, but great catching up with you again after a crazy weekend in Houston.
You too, Mike. Always great to talk to you, brother.